we talk about an organization that, maybe did not have the best quarterback reputation. I didn't know if you saw this over on Barstool, Nick,
Uh,
but they did have an article, with Chris Sims just essentially. I mean, these aren't my words; these are someone else's,
of
but
course.
just ripping into Justin Fields, saying he's the 39th best quarterback in the NFL, and shits on him for about 16 minutes and 2 seconds. And yeah, so that's really interesting
Yes,
because it's like for one, like really like no reason to go shit on Justin Fields,
for
like
sure.
I mean, in my opinion, yeah, and that's coming from a Packers fan too.
Right,
Like the kid didn't do nothing to warrant like he didn't come out and say like I'm the best quarterback in the NFL
right.
day one. If he would have done that, I would have been like, yeah, rip his ass apart. But he didn't do that. From this whole experience, from my perspective, the kid's been humble, excited for himself,
Mm.
So that was a little disappointing to see. But to be honest, the 39th best quarterback in the NFL and you're a second stringer, that's not a terrible
I know,
thing.
I know.
And especially like right so like it's like kind of goofy. That's like saying like oh Blake Bortles, that dude's the fucking 35th quarterback in the NFL. That dude, he's not even starting. Like what are you
I
talking
know.
about? Because like by that logic, it's like Justin Fields after like probably week 3 or 4, if not sooner when he gets into the game, what do oh, well now he's the 29th best quarterback. Like
Is it?
it's just like a lazy take if you had to ask me because like yeah he's a second string quarterback so he probably wouldn't be a top 32 quarterback if he was second string,
Right.
and there's like with the exception of maybe Andy Dalton last year, um but there's not too many second string quarterbacks that are Jameis Winston be another one of those guys that are in a top 32 quarterback thing as a second stringer,
Right.
so it's just I don't think it's warranted to shit on him for that much. But Chris Sims, hey, you got your own style. Part of me really does love it,
100%.
but
100%.
also I do think it's a little unwarranted.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the part of me that's wearing this jacket today, obviously, uh, you know,
For
I think,
Yeah, we're here for
I
it.
think, yeah, I'm absolutely here for it. And, you know, you love to see a 16-minute rant about the Bears making a terrible decision in this guy's eyes. However, I agree with you. Like, I think Justin Fields is a good quarterback. Justin Fields has the highest score on the mental aptitude test of all time. Like this dude is a good player. Now the thing is like you said, it's all about framing, right? In something like this, he hasn't
Yeah.
played. They do this all. Where this happens a lot. This happens a lot in college basketball, where
Hmm.
you'll have like a recruit come in, and then all of a sudden they're like a preseason conference player of the year, and everyone's kind of like, what? Like how? Like we've never seen him play yet. Like it shouldn't be. So
Yeah.
this is my argument: is I don't think in any form of ranking you should be. I think like all of those rankings that come out, like the top quarterback, the top whatever, they should just exclude rookies. It should be in parentheses excluding
For sure.
rookies. It makes no sense to say something like, "How the hell do we know by week 4?" The Bears will probably be starting Justin Fields with their level of
Yep.
dysfunction, and he might be fucking
Yep.
good. And then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
so then what are we like? It's just you can't judge it right away, and it's silly to
For
do
sure.
so. I agree with you. It's kind of
Yeah.
sloppy to put out
Yeah.
that take and
Like
be like, I know he's the, it's like how what are you? How can you like how can
in
you defend that?
Yeah. And the thing too is like he didn't like it wasn't like he had some positives and some negatives about Justin Fields,
Right,
like really breaking down and analyzing why he would be the 39th best quarterback in the NFL. Like
right.
for me, it just seems like he was just like all negative and like for 16 minutes, it was just a long time. That's
That
half of
is
the show. It's more than half of
that
this show.
is
52% of this show, if we just talked about Justin Fields and how terrible of a football player he was, or how he was like the 39th worst quarterback in the
it'd be
league.
great. It'd be crazy.
It's like yeah, it's just a wild thing. What I'd be more interested to hear is where Chris Sims had Trevor Lawrence ranked on
Yeah,
his, where is Trevor Lawrence ranked in terms of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? If you want to have an interesting take, that's more interesting. Like, because Trevor Lawrence, that's more of a speculative thing. Nah, not speculative, but like a more of an interesting topic to see where you would have him slotted in against today's NFL quarterbacks. Because everyone's very high on Trevor Lawrence, seemingly going to be like at the quarterback position.
Yep.
So you think it would be a more interesting take to analyze him in the terms of the ranking of quarterbacks in the NFL, who is going to start in Jacksonville,
Right.
and see where you would have him. Where do you think he would kind of fall in that rank of quarterbacks? I know it's
Yeah.
unfair to judge a
No,
rookie who
no.
hasn't played, but just based on his college career, the hype around him,
Yep.
going to the Jags, Timmy Tebow, all that good stuff.
It's
Where do you think a guy like Trevor Lawrence ends up?
I would say so. I would look at it first from the standpoint of out of all the rookies, where does he
Yep,
stand? And I would say he's the best quarterback of all the rookies.
yep,
So you've got
yep,
that right there. Then you've got to look at some of the guys that are starting in the league. Like if you take the bottom 8 teams in the league, right? Like the bottom of every division, right?
yep,
He is
yep,
probably better than most of them at this point because you have like a situation like I think I covered it in the like for example like is he better than like Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold's I think obviously gonna or he's obviously out in you know New York now because they got Zach
yep.
Wilson, but like he's better than a guy like that. Is he better than I mean, quite frankly, he's
Tua.
probably better than Andy Dalton. He's probably better than Tua.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say he's probably in the range of like top 20, maybe like right around 20, 22, maybe somewhere in that
Yeah.
ballpark. But you just don't know, it's tough. It's hard to do it, right? It's just hard to do it. Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Because he could come out and have a season that puts him in top five for the
right, and
season,
we've seen it. We've seen
like,
it go both ways, right? Like you've
yep,
seen,
for
do I
sure.
think like there's a lot of weird comparisons too because you go, okay, after we see some film, after we see maybe 8, 10 games of Trevor Lawrence, like could he be better than Cam Newton? After the year that Cam
Yeah.
Newton put up
Yeah.
last year, at this point in their
Yeah.
respective careers, like that's an interesting one. Like there's a few guys where you go, Tyrod
For
Taylor,
sure.
right? Tyrod Taylor could very well be a starter this year
Yep.
in Houston, and it's like at
Yep.
this point in their career, I don't know. Like maybe
Yeah.
very
Like,
well
what about
maybe.
like a guy like Teddy Bridgewater too?
Yep, and so that's where it starts to get interesting because yeah, I mean if Trevor Lawrence comes in and he picks up the NFL offense and he can read the defenses like
Yeah.
yeah, he is going to be better than a lot of these people. Same thing with Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields is a tremendous talent. He very well might be, but we've just seen tons of these guys burn out over the years too and not pan out and
For
not
sure.
be
Yeah.
the guy that,
Have a good first two seasons and then just kind
you
of
know.
trickle out. Like a guy like Sam Darnold,
Yep.
essentially.
And then you also
Um,
have a lot of guys that we're not even thinking of right now. There's probably a guy that got drafted in the 6th or 7th round that's going to be a decent player. Like that's very
yeah,
possible.
for sure.
That type of stuff happens all the
Yeah.
time. Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick. Like it's hard to
Yep.
make sense of it
Yep.
sometimes.
And you do have like some of those guys that are certain breeds that it just seems like it doesn't matter really where they're going to get picked. They've already went there in their
Right.
mind of like, no, I'm playing for this team. I've already envisioned it, and then they just fucking somehow they're able to speak it into existence
Yep.
essentially.